Good day, ma'am. These are the principles of public policy. Part 1. Economics and Philosophy. First is personal utility and welfare. The economist's concept of utility is based on choice. If economic man chooses A rather than B, he is deemed to get more utility with A and to be better off, having reached a preferred position. Choosing between uncertain outcomes permits an expected utility to be measured cardinally. Risk and equality are related. Utility theory is the cornerstone of normative economics, providing a criterion of better offness. Next is welfare economics. Is the study of how the allocation of resources and goods affects social welfare. This relates directly to the study of economic efficiency and income distribution, as well as how these two factors affect the overall well-being of people in the economy. In practical terms, welfare economists seek to provide tools to guide public policy to achieve beneficial social and economic outcomes for all of the society. However, welfare economics is a subjective study that depends heavily on chosen assumptions regarding how welfare can be defined, measured, and compared for individuals and society as a whole. Next is collective utility and welfare. Normative economics is mainly concerned with the welfare of communities. Somehow, the happiness or utility of individuals has to be compared and amalgamated or added up. The status of the interpersonal comparisons involved is discussed. The mathematical conditions required for making sense of a general measure of the welfare or utility of a community are outlined. It is concluded that the concept makes sense, but the conditions are very demanding. Part 2. Politics and Philosophy. The role of the state. Public policy requires the state to make distributional judgments, but there are moral constraints on its authority. Individuals' rights as well as state rights have evolved through social interaction. General human rights are the corollary of wrongs, things that neither the state nor any person may do to them. The acquisition of property rights is discussed. It is concluded paradoxically that although the state has a general obligation to protect property, it also has a right to take it away from some to give to others. Next is communitarianism. Communitarians claim that individuals do not exist apart from society, and that communities have a moral value that is independent of individuals. It is held that philosophers such as Rawls and Nozick, who neglect persons' deserts and their history and attachments, cannot understand justice, while agreeing that persons are almost unimaginable except in a social context, and that membership of a community is an important good for many people. Nevertheless, it is held that they are autonomous beings. A person may disagree with the moral code of any society, including his own. However, a shared understanding of community values has historically often been a source of evil. Contractarianism. Contractarianism is more than a theory of the origin of legitimacy of states. Agreements required for productive cooperation or merely for peaceful coexistence are held to be the basis for morality or a large part of it. Game theory is used to analyze the rationality of such agreements. Social conventions, which are not strictly agreements, also evolve over time in a community and acquire moral force. Although morality and society thus march together, individuals may always hold some social conventions to be immoral. Here is the utilitarianism theory and applications. Utilitarianism is a comprehensive doctrine claiming that the greatest amount of happiness is an end that should exclusively guide all actions of both government and individuals. The fact that people value the happiness of those close to them more than that of strangers makes utilitarianism personally unacceptable to many. But it may still be a proper principle for government, given some overriding respect for individual rights. There are, however, basic problems concerning the value of life and the treatment of future people and foreigners. The conventional discounting of future incomes does not imply that the utility of future people is discounted. The state's primary responsibility is to its own citizens, but it should not treat aliens as mere instruments for the welfare of citizens. Utilitarianism, justice, and equality. The 1970s saw a wave of attacks on utilitarianism and consequentialism, favoring theories of good government based on contract, whereby what was good followed from what was right, rather than vice versa. There was emphasis on social and distributive justice, seen largely in terms of equality of resources, somehow defined, rather than welfare. The various meanings of justice are discussed, and the theories of two leaders of this contractarian movement, namely John Rawls and Ronald Dworkin, are found to be flawed. There are serious difficulties with the measurement of equality of anything. For this and other reasons, the concept of equality is not an acceptable unifying social end. Part 3. Economics and Politics, Games, Conventions, and Public Goods. Game theory analyzes the best behavior of individuals when this depends on the reaction of others. The prisoner's dilemma is the best known theorem and has been thought to be an important reason for government intervention in markets. This is misleading because trust and conventions play a large part in oft-repeated economic and other transactions. The nature and provision of public goods is analyzed. In practice, the state typically supplies many goods which could, in principle, be efficiently supplied by private enterprise. The normative political economy. Government can and should be actively concerned with the relief of poverty. But there is no ethical principle defining the proper distribution of wealth between occupational or other social groups, nor can it be democratically determined in an orderly manner. Distributional coalitions such as trade unions, employers, and professional associations must be discouraged, with the distribution of wealth between groups determined by competition. Where politics is dominated by distributional issues, democracy is likely to break down, and often has. The related subjects of rent-seeking and corruption are discussed. The next one is positive political economy. In the last quarter century, the naive simplification that the sole aim of government was the welfare of citizens has been abandoned, and it is recognized that the government is a positive actor on the economic stage with its own interests. Positive political economy consists of attempts to explain economic policies which require knowledge of how the government is constituted, how it takes decisions, and on what principles, if any, it acts. Government decisions are collective decisions, and so the theory of collective decision and voting is relevant and is examined. This heterogeneous chapter examines various attempts to explain government behavior using economic concepts. It is concluded that little progress has been made in discovering any general truths. And that's all. Thank you.